Hi, Maher. Welcome to the Dragon's Den. Let's
Ah,
chat it up.
hi,
It's
Suki. Oh my God, it's great to see you.
good to see you, babes. So, I thought that we could chat about heart and mind coherence since I have my bestest Melchizedek friend on the line.
Absolutely. That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. So, heart and mind coherence. Um, humanity shifting into their heart right now.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, I'm always wondering, like, what can I, what's the counsel for people, to use their heart more? And I
Mhm.
always tell people, check with your heart.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ask your heart questions.
Mhm. I think that's the best thing to do because we're always so many of us, right? We all do that. Whenever we're confused and we're trying to use our brain and we have a giant charge against something, we're always asking somebody else for advice externally, and
Yeah,
all that confusion just goes away as soon as I know you've told me so many times, just ask your heart, and I'm like, yeah, it's as simple as that. I really
doesn't it
shut up.
answer?
Always. There's not been a
Hmm.
time when it does. And then we, of course, cross question it and doubt it. That's a different story. But if you just
Hmm.
shut your mind out for a second and just listen to your heart and just ask, just directly, it never fails, right?
No, never fails. And I've noticed that, in this last year of the whole cove reality, um, that my heart has been the direction, the connection, and the protection. Excuse me. So, I know that when I use it more, when I access it more, that it is definitely creating more of a magnetic field that's protecting me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, it seems to connect me to the right synchronicities, to keep me in alignment in my day. Um, yeah, it's such an exciting time to be a human being.
Right.
Let me ask you something, Meher, and
Mm-hmm.
really honestly answer. Do you think folks that are not awake right now, do they still have the opportunity to be awake, to become awake, if they're not in this now moment? I know that's a heavy question.
You know, folks that are not awake in the now moment, it's very interesting because more and more people are getting awake, and we can see that every single day. There's so many more people just just getting more and more awake, and as they do, they are almost surprised as to, like, what was I doing for so long, right? And they're almost like, why wasn't I doing that? And it's true. Awake people use their heart more because it's almost like, I want to talk about this piece. It's almost like a trend. I feel like,
Mhm.
I don't know when it started, but when we stopped listening to our hearts and started listening to our minds, and that was considered the trendier thing to do, or I it started at some point, and I just want to point that out, that while the mind, yes, you need to be practical,
Mhm.
you need to use your brain and all of that, but at the same time, if you look at the muscles, there are more muscles in the heart than the brain. The heart is way more intelligent than the brain. There are more um uh cell structures in the heart than in the brain. Even science says that. And it just is the more intelligent organ. So I wonder when it started to switch. I think it's when the whole, when things started getting more systemized and all about the bigger organizations and so on and so forth. I think that's what started it, right?
Mhm, mhm.
That's
It's funny because humanity is so brokenhearted that if you tell anybody in the MAME, you know, to open your heart is the way, they look at you like, you know, there's just no fucking way I'm gonna do that.
right, 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 exactly. That's what I mean by the brain being the trendier one, right? Like it's
Uh-huh,
almost like
uh-huh.
a belief system. But I know that in ancient times that was not the belief system, because all those sages that went and got all these wonderful downloads and spent their lifetimes dedicating to it, it they did not they did not you know they didn't think that way. They couldn't think that way. They would not be able to get any information.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
whenever we channel and connect to spirit, we cannot do it if we're not in an open hearted state. That's why when our vibrations are low, when we're down, the channeling just doesn't come through easily. And that's
right.
because your heart is not so. Receiving higher messages from spirit, there's absolutely no doubt that we need to use our hearts.
Mhm,
But even
mhm,
for just any day-to-day questions, when especially for people who find themselves being indecisive, I think
mhm,
in the end, just letting the heart decide is the, it's probably the only way to come to a conclusion.
mhm, mhm. Okay, so you know, I want to jump into something else.
Mhm.
Have you been noticing the telepathy with each other? How it's beefed up. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I absolutely have. It's happened to me in the last, I mean, I think in the last couple of months, like someone thinks about me and I think about them. And then 2 days later, they're like, I was trying to reach out to you 2 days before. And
Hmm.
I mean, it was always there, but it's just amped up.
Hmm. Definitely. And
So why do you
so
think that is?
I've noticed being over here in the islands, the light has been so magnificent on the planet, you know, and I've had to say in the last week, you know, outside of the rain when it is sunny, that you know the light is just brighter. There's more color, there's more depth, there's more texture, there's more feeling, uh, there's more spectrum, if you will. And we know that the data is in the light. So I think that you know, these are the ways of communication that will be prevalent in the new earth, you know, telepathy,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of them. So I think that, you know, we're seeing this happen. I've also been noting this. Okay, I've been noting that when density's coming at me, like let's say I'm in the grocer, um, and density's coming at me, you know, somebody with a very heavy aura, and I take the
Mm-hmm.
path of least resistance. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking the path. I'm watching density like double back on itself, almost boomerang back on itself. And I'm not doing anything. As an
Mm-hmm.
alchemist, as a magician, I'm not doing anything. I'm just taking the path of least resistance. And I'm telling you, it is met with the utmost assistance. It really has been. And that it's been fantastic, because I really think the tone in the ethers is like, get nice or get the fuck off the planet. Get get
Mm-hmm.
with working together, or get the fuck off the planet. You know,
Right,
that's
right.
just,
I,
yeah,
I I hear what you're saying. The new frequency. So
yeah.
okay. I think this is the new frequency that everyone's been talking about. So from what I got was that when the new frequency started coming in, because Gaia now has the ability to hold higher frequencies than it used to. Overall, that platform is there for whoever wants to access it, right? And there are of course people who decide to stay in the lower densities. But for those who are deciding to get into higher density, the switch is more apparent. The split is also more apparent. The
Yes,
right. I feel like
yes.
the split is so apparent because you no longer. There was a time when there was an overlap. I felt, where we
Mhm,
could
mhm.
be in both worlds. And now it is just more and more difficult or impossible to be in both worlds at the same time. So
Right,
what's
right.
happening is we are kind of splitting, and then we also have. I also felt around October last year is when the portals became super thin.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
When
I
that
remember you
happened,
saying this. Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
when that happened, I felt like all sorts of forces started coming through. So I mean, of course, our guides are stronger around us, so they, and with that happening, and so are the forces, of evil also. Like everyone's, with the portals open, everyone's like in more.
Mm.
But what I've seen with so many people, and I've seen it in my personal life too, is that we have been kind of finally been seeing our issues for what they are,
Mhm.
really viewing them for what they are, and getting into these aha moments and these realizations that, oh, okay, so, oh, there was this issue, there was this entity, there was that comes from this resonance or that resonance. But the recognition of it is becoming more and more, and as such
So
with
we
the
don't resonate with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
And haven't we seen
Definitely.
more and more of that happening for everybody, for all of us? And we're shedding layers as that's happening. And so even though there may be more entities around, but as our resonances go, and the first part is us seeing them for what they are. When we
Mm.
recognize them, we can let them go, and that has been happening more and more. So overall, you're right that the light has shifted. You know,
Oh yeah. As an oracle, I see it. I see I see the spectrum opening. I see it's so beautiful. It's so absolutely beautiful. And it's so beautiful to see all of God's creatures respond, you know?
mhm.
I'm the animals are so much I'm in more communion with them. I'm in more communion with the earth spirits, well, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're wonderful with that.
They they
You
don't leave
talk
me
to everyone
alone.
and everything.
Yeah, so you know,
I think it's
I
the
just
dragon in you. I think it's the dragon in you because you just kind of know how to work with the animal spirits and the right. Just so close to Gaia's frequency.
I love this planet and I love our species. And I'm really so excited for I love all the species here. I mean, that's what's so fabulous about Gaia is that she's a living library of
Yeah.
genome. She's a living library of genome, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, really love it.
This is very interesting that you say that. No wonder we were told. Like I was told that as a Melchizedek, we have a vow to come over and over again to reactivate DNA, and 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 the limited DNA that science says that it has. We know there's more, and we activate more of it, but just the preservation of the
Mm.
of of the DNA that needs to be activated is very interesting when you say Gaia is the library, because
Oh
yes,
yeah.
she's the library. She holds the codes, which are okay in the third dimension, and as we move into the fifth dimension, we now activate more and more of that DNA that Gaia can hold. So the library is also expanding in that sense, right?
Yes, that's beautifully articulated. I
Mhm.
concur, sister. I concur. Um,
Thank you.
uh, I wanted to ask you, as an akashic reader,
Mhm.
you know, can you tell me a little bit about the cave of creation?
Okay, we're going back there. So it's very interesting when you talk about the cave of creation. Usually, um, this is my theory is that yes, it is. It does come from the cave because it is from the feminine void that the creation of the or from the darkness is the creation of the light source,
Mm-hmm.
that is created. And then, structures across the world, I was just talking about this, structures across the world, when you look at a mountain which has a cave,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of relate to it like a pyramid with its chambers where the secrets are stored. Like all these mystery schools across time have
Mm-hmm.
stored the secret of the seed, the primordial seed. And I would like to link that to the primordial seed being the lineage of Sanat Kumara, and that came through, the but in terms of, and so I understand why they call it the cave of creation or the cup of life, as the Holy Grail
Mm-hmm.
is called, because it's the water in the womb that holds all life. The first animal was an aquatic being. It's through that void, and it's through that feminine energy of water that the masculine was created. Um, so that is my belief system. But in what context would you like to talk more about the cave? Like,
Okay, well, you had said that, Gaia's octave is expanding, right? This was the last thing that we were talking about, and that get, brought to my mind the cave of creation,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, makes
which is
sense. Yeah.
which is ever changing. Is it not? Is
Yes,
that
what I feel is it's ever expanding, not ever changing.
okay?
But
Okay.
there is additional add-on layers to it. I feel like more light comes in, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, so if we look at the Big Bang Theory, we're thinking about the, like, I know we're talking about Gaia's cave, but I'm just going to go a little further, so
Mm-hmm.
so people can relate to what they know of more. So it's through that void that the star systems were created, but then there are always, the stars are getting bigger, getting older, shrinking, dying. It's an active, it's a living process, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
feel in a similar way, Gaia herself is very alive, and she's going through her process. As such, there are shifts to the cave, you know and the origins, there's layers to it. um Her core is going through consistent shifts as more and more light frequencies come in, because there are grid workers that work on ley lines. We've worked on ley lines, and when that happens, it shifts its etheric structure continuously. There is, of course, a record of it, and its akash is in its core, but it is continually evolving. And as long as it is shielded, whereas it does not go to a destruct mode, and
Okay.
and 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 in terms of, it'll always be shielded from external species according to the law of one, until we reach a point where we are going to destroy each other, and that's when they can intervene. And so, we to stop that from happening, the seed of love, the seed of love planted in by Sanat Kumara, coming down Yeshua's line, it needs to be reactivated, so we don't go on auto destruct mode by killing each other, essentially.
Okay, I think that we did send out that beacon that we were going to kill each other, and I do think they intervened when we split the atom. I think I think that's what happened when I then whatever was allowed to come in by that rip in the tear in time space fabric. What we did with that technology uh, move. Uh,
Mhm,
I think whatever was allowed in was very responsible for World War II
mhm.
um, and the eugenic shit and the shit that we're seeing now. Actually, come.
I agree
come
completely.
manifest. Yeah.
Right, right. Every time we do that, we kind of allow in. It's like, you just open the whale and you allow in some evil, and then that leads to other stuff. Because the way evil works is it's a choice thing. The human always has a
Right.
choice to listen to, the good or not. And then if the evil has enough of a argument to tempt the human, then and the human makes that choice, then that's what leads to that. So, like, for instance, the choice that was made to create the virus in the laboratory, initially created to kill old people, and but then once they made that choice, then evil kind of added to it and took over. So any kind of yeah, you're absolutely right about that, because the base structure at the atom is the base structure of evolution. It contains the seed of the DNA, and we split it. So that's that was an invitation. So I would agree with you in that.
Okay. Now, this has always interested me. I've never asked you this, but I want to know what your thoughts are on this. We've talked about a technique called lacing, where you go to a memory that was destructive or misaligned, abusive, even, and you change that memory. You go in and you alter the memory. Okay, you make it nice, you make it fluffy, blissful, very digestible. What does that do in the akash when we do that?
Mm, okay, here's the thing. Whenever we do that, whenever we shift the subconscious field, so it shifts it for the current moment. Shifting it in the akash is a little. Okay, so through the akash we carry. The akash is a record that talks about the memories that are carried in our subconscious through our DNA. If we switch that over in the subconscious, at this point in time, it reverberates. But also, additionally shifting it and clearing it in the akash will release the charge of that memory completely. I think this is my personal opinion, that it's a twofold process: releasing it from the subconscious and energetically releasing the charge from the akash. That is.
Okay.
Does that sound accurate to you?
Well, sure it does, but I want to know the mechanics of that. How do we do that?
The mechanics of that is, when we're working on any subconscious work, right, through any kind of hypnosis, through any kind of inner child healing, whatever we're doing, that is shifting it from your own consciousness, right, in this particular time, timeline. Now, of course, because time isn't linear, you just went back and shifted it. So now, when you went back and shifted it, you did it in the subconscious way. Now you energetically clear it from the akash and erase it. When you do that, then it adds the oomph to it, and it's twofold, whereby you are also releasing it from the older imprint is also being released. Whenever we specify we're releasing it across timelines and lifetimes, it, that intention will clear that, and that will actually make the subconscious release process easier. So in our linear time, if I had to do both, I would do the clearing of the akash first and then the subconscious release.
Okay, and I think that's important to note. Thank you for that. I think it's important to also note that when doing any work in the astral, always claim in all space, time, dimension, direction, realm, reality. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely.
I think absolutely that claim will do it. That claim will do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I agree.
And everybody says it differently. I love how you say it.
Yeah, across all time.
Shell. Yes. Say it. What do you say?
Across all space-time continuum in all timelines and lifetimes.
Beautiful. I
I
say
love how you say it too.
in all space, time, realm, reality, dimension, and direction.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
what I say.
That's.
It's funny because it comes out so organically when I'm, raising energy.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have to think about it when I'm like doing my, living.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just talking about, raising energy, and it's very important to be grounded when you
Mm-hmm.
raise energy in my opinion, to the core of Gaia, to Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
As a dragon, I go to my higher heart and
Mm-hmm.
send gold light all the way down my body, out the pads of my feet, and I swirl and fly down, 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 deep down to Middle Earth, and I wrap around her core. Then I open my crown, and then I do the work that I'm being called to do. And then when the work is finished, I take all that energy that's been raised in my body and I ground it. And what I personally do is I send it down my chakra system into the core of Gaia. And I might use a magical tool and visualization doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's beautiful, and you're absolutely right about saying that we cannot go further up until we go further down. So many people don't realize that. They're like, okay, let's just go up, and a lot of us channels do that just so much by default. We just like
right.
love flying up, and the deeper we go down, the further we can go up. And wrapping around the core is more important. Some people go down but they don't anchor. So
Mm,
I
mm,
also always do that and say that you need to anchor, wrap around the core, bring our energy back up to you, and then go up.
definitely. Definitely.
Okay. So that is a very important piece. Now, how do you bring your heart and your mind together in coherence? Because, I think the question is not about heart over mind. I think the question is when you bring them both in coherence and they start working in unison, and the heart and the mind, the way I look at it, it's your conscious and your subconscious. And when you bring them in unison, that's when you achieve the highest coherence. So, but only have the heart guide the mind and not the other way around when you're trying to achieve the coherence. But so let's think
Like
of,
you have to think with your heart.
yes, exactly, think with your heart. So how do we bring our hearts and minds in unison and coherence, Suki? What is your opinion on that?
My opinion is just the awareness of it and to keep referencing it and speaking to it, accessing the data that is within it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a sacred flames within the heart. And you know all about that. And so the awareness of it and the reference to it, and I believe that's what will bring the cognition, and it's such a joy to have no monkey mind, no looping, and peace and solace in the mind, and let the heart guide. And I believe that's mastery. But the
Okay, so you
awareness and the reference to it, the speaking to it.
Okay, so to expand on what you're saying, first quiet the mind, and you can do that in multiple ways. And breath is a big way. By slowing your breath, you quiet your mind, and then once you quiet your mind, you really just become aware of your heart and start talking to your heart and asking it questions and communicating it, because we're so used to being in our minds that comes naturally, but actually being in our hearts, we have to physically send our consciousness there, um, or
Oh
we
yes.
won't, right? So
Mhm.
paying attention, bringing it into your consciousness in the forefront will do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Meher.
no, of course. So that is where we should not just aim to kind of once in a while be in, but be in most of the time. I think this is what you mean when you say living by the heart, right? Suki always says, live with your heart, live with your heart open.
Well, I'm trying, but it's hard with all these newcomers, huh? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Um, well, no, because all the good stuff's in there for sure.
Mhm.
It's yeah, I gave this man my card today, and he called me like an hour later, and he told me that he has evil coming out of his heart. And he wants to kill people. And
Ooh,
I thought, oh, this brother, there's so many like him in the world right now. That's why, I asked you, do people have the opportunity to still wake up and get on board with the ascension train?
you know,
Choo choo.
it is
Yeah.
all about choice. What I get is it's not about, okay, it's not about, yes, of course, if you have, if you've already been on it, or if you're already like, in a positive state of mind, if you're already entity free, then of course you have more of a, you have an advantage. But that doesn't, what I learned
Mhm.
long time ago when I asked this question, if as we get on board, can we get all our people on board? Like, can they come on board? Like, and the answer I got is free will choice. So if they have the choice, they can work very hard, and just within like a few months, they can completely shift who they are if they choose to, because like, we don't even use 5% of our minds. So as human beings, we have a lot of capacity, and if we reach out for help and we find, our guides will find the right help. Because I always say this, the fight is between your guides and the entities that are in you, and the entities will stop you from doing it, and your guides will make sure that the moment you decide that I need help with this and this, you exercise your free will and you voice your help, they will like find randomly from wherever the right people, and then say if you don't have the resources to engage them, they will make sure they find the resources. They'll make it happen. They will make it
Maher,
happen.
that's what the Christed light is. The Christed light comes through the righteous choices that we make,
Right.
and it continues to be able to be amplified through the sentient being, through the free will. And I love that you had said that in your video, right? It's through the free will and our choice of forgiveness and empathy and love and higher octaves, that
Mm-hmm.
is that Christed consciousness. It lies in the choice. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I told this brother on the phone. I was like, man, you got to look at that shit straight in the face, and don't go to distractions. Don't go to, drinking, drugs, smoking, eating, whatever. We all have our distractions,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to look that shit right in the face. And then you got to forgive it, empathize, let it go, love it, and get through it. And it's in that
Mm-hmm.
choice to look
Mm-hmm.
at it and say, you don't own me. You don't own me, and you no longer serve me. Thank you for your service. Aloha nui loa. Be well.
Absolutely. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely 100% agree with you on that, Suki. It is so, so important to understand that we always have the choice. We are the masters of our destiny. And a lot of us are like, oh, but I'm stuck in this situation. Yes, that entity is keeping you stuck in that situation. So what you want to do is really look into how you can get out of it and ask for help. Simply ask when you don't know what to do, ask. Tell your
Entities
guides,
have
I
to
need
tell
help with
you.
this.
that they're around or they're attached to you. They have to disclose that.
Yeah,
So if
if
you
you
think
ask,
you have
they
an
must.
entity around you or on you, just ask, you'll get an answer, and the best way to rid yourself of that entity is to treat it with love and respect and honor, and transition it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Call Archangel Azrael, and Azrael will take that entity to the light.
Yeah.
And it's no joke, because you know what? What I found in my work is that entities are very much ready to evolve themselves and not have this, parasitic, symbiotic relationship that they have to have in order to exist. And they want to evolve as well. And that, 99.9% of the time, they're ready. They're ready to step into a higher octave,
Yes. Yeah. Just as you are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just as everything is, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why this whole centralization and control, this whole Saturnian construct, this is all dissolving in the age of Aquarius, is it not?
Exactly. Absolutely. We've had
Mm-hmm.
the whole conjunction of Saturn, Pluto, and Capricorn dissolving all old large structures.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right on.
so that is the first step. Aquarius is all about equality. You can no longer go through that centralization process anymore. It's just not going to work. Just doesn't work that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for talking about this very important piece of living from the heart, because that's exactly, like you said, what the Christ consciousness taught us. Because it's when we live from the heart, when we forgive from the heart, when we work from the heart, um
We
that's what.
we level up.
Yep.
We level up. I've been seeing, I don't know, like my physical visual, I've been seeing things like it looks as if I'm in a timeline and it's collapsing. It's trippy. And I'm not on any kind of hallucinogenics.
But that's exactly what's happening. The timeline is collapsing, right? Suki, that's exactly what's happening. You're
That's what I've
you're
been
right
told.
on you're right on point with it, because it really is doing that. It's really leaving, it's going. What needs to go is going, what needs to come is coming. And when this is why we're able to do so much inner work. This is why we're able to recognize things we haven't recognized. So many of us are going through so many deep shifts, and we're able to understand and go through these shifts because of this exact reason. Because things are, layers are getting thinner, more and more, there's more and more evolvement, all of that. It is really happening. And yeah, I love that, you as a seer can see that directly, but it's happening all over. And thank you for confirming that with us with your eyes.
Oh yeah, no problem. Um, I are can you are we in the age of Aquarius? Like, are we there?
Yes, we're there. So
Okay.
so astrologers were debating if it started on the solstice or on the equinox, but now we're in the equinox. So, and
So
in
we're
my,
definitely in it. Okay.
yeah, and that's why this equinox was so big. That's why
Yeah.
that's what I'm explaining in that video, where, about the equinox portal, is that. And in my opinion, what really happened was, I feel like they
Mm.
both were right, because what started on the solstice
Got
solidified
finished up.
completely, yep, on the
Yeah.
equinox.
On the
and
equinox.
and from everyone's been rising, and then they've reached the zero tolerance level at the equinox, and they're like, okay, this is it, there's no more going back. You
Mm.
either, take it or leave it.
Piss or get off the pot, my mom would say. Right? Right.
I
Okay.
love it.
Yeah. Oh, funny my hair. All right. So all right. Well, can you can you send us off with a blessing?
Oh, Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Let's do this. Let us
Call in Archangel Michael. Can we do that?
Archangel Michael, please come in and give us your blessing today and tell us if you have a message for the collective, Archangel Michael.
Oh, Michael, I love you. Thank you for all that you do and the
Yes,
comfort that you bring
we love
mankind.
you so much, Archangel Michael. I want to say this, without Archangel Michael's beginning, he is here to teach us about truth and justice. And for any of you that are going through anything and having any problems with releasing of old habits, belief systems, stuff that does not belong, call on Archangel Michael. He will clear that up. As we clear up those entities, as we clear up those belief systems, as we clear up all those things and get clear, that is when we can be in our heart center, and that is when we can be coherent, and that is when we can raise our vibration, and that is when all the beautiful things start. So before ascension, before anything, comes Michael. So any of you going through any kind of dark stuff and internal stuff, and who doesn't, please call in Archangel Michael. Simply call him in, whether you know him or you don't. You will get to know him very soon. Believe me, he is loud. He'll tell you he's here. So yeah, and Archangel Michael just simply wants to say that he's always here for all of us, because he is the gatekeeper of this, to keep the darkness away so that we can all stay in our light. He is here to help us so that we can all grow in our seed of love. He is here to be the defender of the seed of love that is brought in, and that needs to absolutely be maintained so that this earth is not completely destroyed. Because remember, if we destroy each other, the law does not apply, and they can come in and add to it and destroy us. So if you're ever going down a very negative spiral, then that's when you are on the frequency for an entity attaching to that. So just we all go through it. Just get yourself out of it. And when you're having trouble getting yourself out of it, call on Archangel Michael and his sword of light, and he will come with his sword of light and cut all your cords and release from you all that does not belong there. Anything, anger, unforgiveness, envy, depression. There's a scale of frequencies, and actually depression is lower on the scale of frequency than even anger, because when you're angry, you at least feel motivated to do something. But when you're depressed, you don't feel like doing anything, and then it's so hard to get out of it. So for those of you, any of you going through that, a lot of sensitive souls suffer to that. A lot of volunteer souls suffer through that because the world feels so harsh. Call in Archangel Michael to put a shield around you. Call in Archangel Michael with his sword to cut your cords. Work with his electric blue light to shield you. Just call on him, and you will feel his presence. And he is here to assist you in everything. You can call on him as many times as you like, and just please continue to work with him until you feel like you are okay to do this on your own. And then you will graduate to working with other beings as you start working on ascension. But Michael is your first stepping stone. So we honor you, Michael, because
Yes.
without you, we would not have come anywhere. Without you helping us. And we ask Archangel Michael to help us recognize all our seen and unseen resonances that attract anything that is not of the light. Allow us to see them clearly, allow us to see them clearly, and then release them because we're able to see them clearly, and find us help so we can work on them and release them. And there are so many ways to do that, right? The help is, there are so many, like you go under the hypnosis, you go under, and Suki does, you get the records cleared like I do. Anything, there's so many other methods as well out there. There's so many psychological techniques. Whatever, if anything else doesn't work, go into your breath. go do yoga, meditate, whatever works. But just even putting on music when you're down, put on music, try to cook something. Don't have that packaged stuff, because when you're down and you don't want to do anything is where you just push yourself to just go out for a walk, sit by a tree, put your feet in the ground, blast some music, and go and try and cook something, no matter how bad it turns out. But do it, because it's only by doing that you get into the frequency of doing more, and you're not in that frequency of inaction, because inaction is actually really bad. Inaction creates more karma than action. so so
Yeah.
yes, so Archangel Michael just has this message that he's always there for you. And right now, let's just bring in Archangel Michael's electric blue shield to shield us. We ask him to take his sword of light and cut all cords that are not serving our highest or best interest at this point in time, across all timelines and lifetimes. We ask to be free of all these cords. We ask to be free of all resonances. We ask for any unknown ones to come to our attention. Thank you, Archangel Michael, for your beautiful blessing that will unfold over the next few days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahara. Thank you, Archangel Michael.
Thank you, Archangel. We love you so much. Who doesn't,
I love you,
right?
girl.
I
Yeah,
love you
no
too.
doubt. Listen, I'll talk to you later, okay? Thanks for doing this.
This was beautiful. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, love.
Good night.